If your job at a healthcare facility includes disinfecting against viruses, you know prevention is the best medicine. And maintaining healthy spaces starts with a healthy cleaning routine. Grainger's world-class supply chain helps ensure you have the quality products you need when you need them. From disinfectants and cleaning supplies to personal protective equipment, so you can help deliver a clean bill of health. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
This is Cashing Out on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Scott Seidenberg here with you. It's Cashing Out on VSiN, the sports betting network. What a night we had in the NBA playoffs and a fun night on the ice. Stanley Cup playoff action continued with the second round opening game between the Maple Leafs and the Panthers. If you looked prior to this game, all four teams that were starting game one on the road were the favorites in their respective series. That's right. All four teams in the second round of the Stanley Cup playoffs that have home ice advantage were the underdogs. The Toronto Maple Leafs in the series were an underdog against the Florida Panthers. The Golden Knights are an underdog to the Edmonton Oilers. The Capitals, an underdog to the Hurricanes, and the Winnipeg Jets, an underdog to the Dallas Stars. Well, Toronto wins as a home underdog, plus 105 in game number one of their series against the Panthers with a 5-4 win. But this game had its moments. You know, Toronto took a 3-1 lead into the dressing room at the end of the first period as they got off to a fast start. William Nylander scoring just 30 seconds into the game, which gave them the 1-0 lead. Nylander scores his second of the night about 12 minutes or so later. And then Seth Jones on the power play scores for the Panthers, making it 2-1. Morgan Riley scores with the assist to Nylander. 3-1 Maple Leafs going into the second period. Chris Tanev scores to make it 4-1. That was the only goal in the second period. And then in the third period, Florida right away, about a minute and a half in, gets a Luosterainen goal to make it 4-2. Belinsky scores to make it 4-3. Matthew Nyes then gives the Leafs back their 2-goal edge at 5-3. And Sam Bennett scores 2 minutes left with the extra attacker on to make it 5-4, and that's where the game would finish. It goes over the total, and as I mentioned, the Leafs do cover and win as plus 105 dogs. But in the postseason, it has been the home teams, the favorites, and the overs. Our good friend Dave Tooley tweeting out on Twitter, 30-17, the favorites in the Stanley Cup playoffs. The overs, 30-17 as well. Home teams are 32-15 here in the Stanley Cup playoffs. It's been the home teams, it's been the overs, and it's been the favorites. Very rare that you have the home underdogs, but you do have a couple of those, like Dallas won as a home underdog, and tonight we had the Maple Leafs win as a home underdog. But an interesting moment in this game that could actually dictate what we see for the remainder of this series. Early on in this game, Anthony Stolarz, the starting goaltender for the Toronto Maple Leafs, took an elbow to the head from Sam Bennett of the Panthers. He had to exit the game. He was replaced by backup Joseph Woll. And according to ESPN's Emily Kaplan, Stolarz was seen vomiting on the bench and left the arena in a stretcher and went to the hospital for further evaluation after the game. That, to me, again, I am not a doctor. I'm not trying to give any prognosis here. It just screams of concussion to me. Of course, in the NHL, we know these injuries are never classified, right? A guy's going to be out with, they call it an upper body injury or a lower body injury. We've seen guys that, like, shatter their femurs, and it's like, he's out with a lower body injury. It's like, okay. Yeah. Or, Anthony Stolarz will be out with a concussion, and they're just going to say, it's an upper body injury. That's okay. It's okay. Imagine it was like that in the NFL, where, like, we have to know exactly every single detail of an injury before we place our bets for fantasy purposes, for prop betting purposes. We got to know everything. Is it a high ankle sprain? Is it a mid ankle sprain? Is it a low ankle sprain? Is it a Lisfranc? But no, in the NHL, it's like, shattered femur. That's a lower body injury. He'll be okay. But if the Leafs are without Anthony Stolarz moving forward, I don't know if I could back them to win this series. Now, could they get great goaltending from Joseph Woll? Certainly. But Stolarz has been that good for them. Top 5 goaltender this year in the NHL in goals saved above expected. As for the actual play, what had happened, here was an exchange between Leafs head coach Craig Berube and reporters after the game on the Sam Bennett elbow to the goaltender's head.
Craig, what was your view on the Sam Bennett hit on Stolarz and
elbow to the head? Yeah, clearly. Yeah, clear as day.
Were you satisfied with your players' response to that? Like, did they handle it the way you would like? Or
yeah, I mean, I don't know what you. I mean, I think at the time, we handled it the way we should handle it. I'm not sure why there's not a call on it. But, I get it. They miss calls, but it's clearly a penalty.
Now, here's the one thing I'll say. You can't go back and change anything, obviously, but you can let the officials know that this is something that you need them to look out for. And so sometimes you complain about a call or a non-call, and the officials kind of have this mea culpa, like, we know we did wrong. And so possibly in the next game, I would be very interested to see what happens if we get players that are close to the goaltender. And I think that it's something that the officials will look at in this game. So in game number 2, between the Leafs and the Panthers, if anybody crashes the net hard, there might be, and the officials could say something before the game. They could let the players know. They could skate over to the bench and say, hey guys, just want to let you know, we're going to watch out for the goaltender interference here. We're going to protect the goaltenders. Don't go crashing hard into the net. You're going to get a call. And maybe that affects the way these guys go in. But it's the Stanley Cup playoffs. It's extremely physical. Should that have been a penalty? Sure. Is it something they're going to look out for in the next game? Sure. Will it lead to maybe some more physicality? We'll see. Here's all we do know. The Toronto Maple Leafs are up 1-0 in this series. Live market right now, Leafs minus 125 to win the series, Panthers plus 105 on the return. And the game 2 line for Wednesday night, pretty much, actually it's not the same. It's been bet up. The Panthers are now minus 130 favorites over the Maple Leafs. Toronto plus 110, and I think this is the goaltending injury here. As more reports come out about Stolarz and his eventual availability for Wednesday night, I mean, when you hear a guy was taken out of the arena on a stretcher and had to be brought to the hospital for further evaluation, again, I'm not trying to speculate. It just sounds to me like it's significant. You hope it's nothing that's going to keep him out long term, but it could be a concussion. Could be something that keeps him out for at least a week or so. I would be shocked if he plays on Wednesday. We saw Logan Thompson of the Capitals be out extended period of time with his head injury, and he came back for game 1 of the playoffs, and he's looked great. But right now, here's what we're looking at. Panthers minus 130. Hard for me to bet against them here with a significant goaltending edge with Stolarz out for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Now, we don't have the official word, but I think judging by the market, pretty safe to say we will not see Anthony Stolarz in net for the Toronto Maple Leafs coming up on Wednesday. Tomorrow we have 2 game number 1s. And once again, both home teams are underdogs in this series. But not the case for game number 1. The Golden Knights, who are a short dog in the series against the Edmonton Oilers, are minus 142 favorites in game 1 tomorrow night here in Vegas. The Capitals, who are dogs in their series against the Hurricanes, they are a short plus 105 dog. Hurricanes minus 125 on the road. I like Vegas a lot here. In fact, Vegas is one of the tickets that I have on a team to win the Stanley Cup. I already had one of my tickets get ripped up with the Colorado Avalanche, but I already knew that was going to happen because I had tickets on both the Avalanche and the Stars. So one of those tickets was going to get ripped up. So the Avalanche ticket's gone. The Jets ticket miraculously somehow is alive. But VGK, if you were ranking the teams right now, of all the teams left in the Stanley Cup playoffs, who right now is the best equipped to win the Stanley Cup? I think it's an interesting debate between Vegas and Florida, even with Florida down 1-0. They're the defending Stanley Cup champs, right? But I think you look at the last 2 Stanley Cup champs, right? Look at Vegas and look at Florida. That's an interesting debate. Both of those 2 teams, the 2 strongest, in my opinion, right now, to make a run to the Stanley Cup final. After those 2, I know it might sound crazy because they should have lost. They should have lost to the Colorado Avalanche. But I think if I was ranking them right now, it would be the Dallas Stars. In fact, the Stars right now are your betting favorite to win the Stanley Cup, just ahead of the Carolina Hurricanes and the Florida Panthers, followed by the Maple Leafs, and then Oilers against and the Knights. The winner of the Oilers-Knights game tomorrow will take a jump up in the Stanley Cup odds. But if the Stars get back Miro Heiskanen on the blue line, and if they get back Jason Robertson up front, they got through the hardest part right now. This team, who became the favorite to win the Stanley Cup after acquiring Mikko Rantanen at the trade deadline, they are your favorites right now, skating into the second round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. And I think I agree with it. Coming up next, we'll get back into Major League Baseball. We'll be joined by our very own Greg Peterson right here on Cashing Out with me, Scott Seidenberg, on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Welcome back to Cashing Out here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Scott Seidenberg back here with you. It's Cashing Out here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. As another week progresses here in Major League Baseball. Joining us now on the Progressive Guest Line, you watch him and listen to him across the variety of VSiN shows, as well as the Baseball Betting Podcast, wherever you get your podcasts from, courtesy of us here at VSiN. He is Greg Peterson. Greg, thanks so much for joining us here on Cashing Out, and let's talk Major League Baseball. You know, I've actually been impressed by what I've seen from the Cardinals the past couple of days. They swept that doubleheader from the Mets on Sunday. They win, doubling up the Pirates yesterday, 6-3. That being said, it's Paul Skeens Day coming up tomorrow for Pittsburgh. Do the Cardinals have enough momentum to ruin Paul Skeens Day for us?
I would be looking at the Pirates here because we're now getting a discount, because you mentioned it. The Cardinals have been playing much better, and when this opened up more around minus 135 or so, it's getting a little bit rich for my blood. But now with you out there at Circa, where you're at minus 121 on the Pirates, I'd be looking at a little bit of a bounce back. I feel like a lot of people make a little bit too much out of every single time Paul Skeens gives up a home run and everything like that. Guy still has a sub-3 ERA for his career. Guy has still been really dominant. I think that he's given up more than 3 earned runs twice in his career. And for Matthew Liberatore, I actually really like what he's been able to do with the Cardinals this season. He's been a little bit of, shall we say, a field prospect in the past and has really been able to cash in with regards to his overall abilities. He's been able to turn that corner, but I just still have my trepidations with that Cardinals bullpen, and it's not been too tremendous this season. And for the Pittsburgh Pirates, O'Neal Cruz has been able to come into his own as well. So I look at this minus 121 number that I'm seeing over there where you're at, Scott, and I'm going to be willing to lay that number.
All right, what about first 5 bet? You willing to back Skeens in the first 5?
I absolutely would. Personally, I'm going to take a look at a full game just because, again, with that Cardinals bullpen, it's a little bit shaky. But whether you go first 5 or full game, willing to back Skeens.
All right, Paul Skeens Day. We'll celebrate it coming up here tomorrow. Also, tomorrow, the Yankees are short home dogs, if you will. I mean, it's minus 105, depending on where you look. But the Padres are the short road favorite in the Bronx after the Padres stole one from the Yankees, or should I say Devin Williams gave it away for the Yankees as they lose. The Padres win 4-3 and come from behind fashion, ruining a great start from Carlos Rodon. Michael King, the former Yankee, gets the start for the Padres against Clark Schmidt. Who are you backing here, and would you be looking at maybe the Yankees after that loss, considering we're not going to see Devin Williams pitch again? I can tell you that much. He's not going to pitch again tomorrow night.
Yeah, you're not going to be getting Devin Williams, and that's good news. But what else is good news is that the Yankees are obviously very familiar with Michael King, and that's part of the angle as to why I did play the Yankees on the money line. Because Clark Schmidt, if you want the textbook definition of a league average pitcher, is Clark Schmidt. For his career, right around about a 4 ERA. He'll give up 3 walks per 9 innings. He'll give you between 8.5 and 9 strikeouts per 9 innings, and he'll give up about a home run per 9 innings. He's nothing great. He's nothing awful. But for Michael King, he's been pretty dominant this year. Not going to lie. He's got a sub-3 ERA. He's got 10.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. But I think the fact that the Yankees got to see him for so much time when he was out there in the Bronx, got to start as a starter and was part of that big deal that we did see with Juan Soto last offseason. I think that leads me to believe that the Yankees are going to be able to bounce back. They were held down a little bit by Nick Pivetta and company on Monday, and I do think that familiarity and also being able to knife into that Padres bullpen, which has been so good this season, a little bit themselves, I think that gives them the edge. So I'm going to be willing to back the Yankees on the money line. We'll be willing to go up to about a minus 110.
Zach Wheeler takes on Drew Rasmussen as the Phillies are taking on the Rays in Tampa. Philadelphia, a short minus 125 favorite. Any angles that you're looking for in this game?
And the big angle that I take a look at, Zach Wheeler, when he gets outside of the first month of the year, he becomes really his most dominant self. His highest ERA for his career comes in the months of March/April. They combine those 2 months because March, typically you're only going to get 1 start if you get any whatsoever, and then he really rounds into form. And for the Tampa Bay Rays, it is a lineup that has been a little bit better this year, but you still have a little bit of a lack of power. Junior Caminero has been able to give you 6 home runs, but having a few guys go on the injured list for the team, Jake Magnum was actually hitting really well for them. That's hurt them quite a bit. You just don't know what you're going to be able to get out of some of these guys like Brandon Lau and company. And for the Phillies, I do believe that the power numbers are going to start to go northward for them as well. It's been a little bit of a power outage for guys not named Kyle Schwarber this far this season, and you've got a lot of guys like Bryson Stott and company starting to move the line for the team. Now, you do have to have trepidation with that Phillies bullpen. It's been not great outside of Matt Strahm this far this season, but I think that Wheeler goes out there, gives a good performance. I do like Drew Rasmussen as well. I think that he's a relatively rock-solid pitcher, but I think that with regards to Tampa Bay Rays home games, you have to gauge them very differently from a totals perspective because this is not the Trop anymore. It's a little bit more of a hitter's ballpark, obviously outdoors. So I look at the over and I look at that money line of the Phillies as a result.
Justin Verlander, Greg, gets the start for the Giants as they are in Chicago to take on the Cubs. Cubs are a minus 155 favorite. Colin Ray goes for Chicago. What do you like in this matchup?
Where in the world did we ever think that we would see Colin Ray be north of a minus 145 favorite against Justin Verlander? And I'm going to take the plus money with the Giants. Now, things completely unraveled for them when Hayden Birdsong went into the game on Monday, but with the San Francisco Giants, they entered into this series a top 5 team in terms of bullpen ERA. Meanwhile, the Chicago Cubs right around about 20th in the league as Porter Hodge and guys that were so good in this bullpen last year, they just haven't been that thus far this season. And for Justin Verlander, he's looked much better. 2 runs or fewer allowed in each out of his last 3 starts, so he's rounding into form. And for Colin Ray, even though he's been pretty spectacular thus far this season, sub-2 ERA, sub-250 fielding independent, I just still have my trepidations with him because he gives up a lot of general contact. If you're looking at the wind situation, by the way, in Chicago, you're going to be noticing that the wind is going to be blowing in, but not too much, like 5 miles per hour. So should help the pitchers a little bit, but it's not going to be an end-all be-all. It's not like one of these crazy wind games or anything like that. So I do think that in this case, you're going to see both of these guys give up a few runs in this one. I'm right now seeing a lot of places opening up an 8. I'd be looking at the over and being able to get anything north of plus 120. I think that the Giants do get to Colin Ray. I think that you see some regression. So I'm in on that Giants money line.
Any angles for the doubleheader between the Guardians and the Nationals? I know we always have to be careful when it comes to doubleheaders because the manager could decide to switch the pitching matchup. So I would caution people betting early, and if you are betting early, make sure you list pitchers to make sure that you get the matchup that you're looking for in each game. But with 2 games in D.C. tomorrow, any betting angles there, Greg?
Absolutely, and obviously you do want to make sure of that because sometimes the guy that's supposed to go in game 1 actually goes in game 2 and vice versa, but it looks like it should be what we were supposed to get on Monday in terms of game 1, Luis Ortiz and Jake Irvin, and then the guys that were slated to go here on Tuesday, Ben Lively, Brad Lord, they should be going in game number 2, and I like both unders. Like with both of these teams, I think that it's going to be a little bit tough for the Washington Nationals to be able to put back to ball against a Cleveland Guardians bullpen that obviously isn't quite the same as it was last year, looking at you, Emmanuel Clase, for that, but you still have some relatively good bullpen depth. You've got some guys like a Joey Cantillo who's able to give you multiple innings if needed in this double dip. Luis Ortiz has been very much up with his strikeout stuff for Cleveland in that game number 1. And right now I'm seeing that circa opener at a minus 112. I would be willing to lay that on the money line. A little bit more tepid in terms of laying a money line for game 2 until we see game 1. But I would be probably finding myself back in on Ben Lively and company because with the Washington Nationals, north of a 6 bullpen ERA. They've looked a little bit better here over the last few days, but Jake Irvin, Brad Lord, those are not necessarily guys I want to be backing in relatively pick'em games / at even money. I would need to be getting a little bit more bang for my buck, especially with the Nationals being so inconsistent at the plate. So I'm looking at a pair of unders, and in all likelihood, looking at the Guardians in both games on those money lines. As you know, the team that has won game 1 in double dips thus far this season, I believe they've won 5 out of the 7 game 2s as well.
Yeah, that's been crazy. Usually that's not the case, but this year it is all about the sweeps, Greg. Thanks so much for joining us. He's Greg Peterson. Make sure you catch him all across the network here on VSiN, and make sure you listen to the Baseball Betting Podcast, wherever you get your podcasts from, courtesy of us here at VSiN. Thanks, Greg.
Thank you, Scott. Always a pleasure, my friend.
There he is. Our very own Greg Peterson joined us on the Progressive Guest Line. You want to bet smarter, not louder? Check out the Sharp Plays at sharpplays.com, where real bettors go to get ahead. Most of the betting world, it's just noise, chasing steam, copying picks, recycling the same old value plays. They're not sharp. They're just parrots. The Sharp Plays is the source they're echoing. Since 2011, it's been locked in with what the real pros are betting. Elite groups, sharp money, the kind that actually moves the market. When the Sharp Plays jumps on a side, the line reacts every time. With insider info and powerful AI tools, you're not guessing, you're getting ahead. Sign up for free betting reports, real-time alerts, and next-level intel via email or on X. And don't take anyone's word for it. Check the receipts. Full betting logs are live on the site. So, why follow the crowd when you can lead it? Visit sharpplays.com. Respected, watched, feared. That's the Sharp Plays. I'm Scott Seidenberg, always on Twitter at ScottsOnAir, SCOTTSONAIR. We'll get to our thoughts once again on tomorrow's playoff action in both the NBA and the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs. I talked briefly about the markets. Even though the home teams are both dogs in their series, we do have a home team that is a favorite tomorrow in the Vegas Golden Knights. But the Capitals, the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference, home dogs to the Carolina Hurricanes. We'll get the handicap on those matchups coming up next. Don't forget, once again, always on Twitter at ScottsOnAir and at VSiN Live. This is Cashing Out right here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Welcome back to Cashing Out here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Scott Seidenberg back here with you. It's Cashing Out here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. My thanks to Greg Peterson, who joined us previously to break down tomorrow's Major League Baseball scoreboard and what we're looking at for some bets. We do have a doubleheader, and I will specify once again that when it comes to a doubleheader, make sure you are listing pitchers and focus in on who's going to pitch each game, because the managers could make a decision day of. Whoever was supposed to start game 1 winds up going game 2. The game 2 starter can go to game 1. So always pay attention to who is starting in these games. I want to take a look at the Stanley Cup playoff games for tomorrow. We have 2 game ones for the conference semifinals. The Capitals are at home against the Hurricanes, and Carolina a minus 125 road favorite with a total of 5.5. And the Edmonton Oilers here in Vegas to take on the Knights. VGK a minus 142 favorite. Your total there is at 6.5. And what I wanted to do was I wanted to kind of look at where these teams have been so far in the playoffs. Who's been doing what throughout the course of their series? Well, let's just compare some of these teams and the advanced analytical stats through the first portion of the playoffs. Right now, and it's crazy because what the stat I'm going to give you is pretty interesting. So there's a couple of advanced stats that I look at. We can look at expected goals, and I'll give you those numbers as well. But one of the stats that I like to look at is a stat called Corsi percentage. And what Corsi percentage is, and also Fenwick percentage, if you ever hear those two names when you're talking about hockey stats, Corsi and Fenwick, they are advanced stats that measure a team's possession. How much of the game are you controlling when you are at even strength, 5 versus 5? Because that's the majority of the game. Yeah, we could talk about special teams on the power play or the penalty kill, but 5 versus 5, at even strength, how much possession do you have? Your Corsi percentage factors in every single shot attempt. So that's shots on goal, that's shots that are blocked by the defense, and shots that are just miss the net and don't count as shots on goal. Your Fenwick percentage doesn't count blocked shots. So they only count the shots that get through to the net. To me, I actually look at Fenwick as more of a better percentage number, but I use them both and I compare them both. And when I did my rankings prior to the playoffs starting, these were your top teams in the regular season amongst the playoffs if I just used a composite ranking of their Corsi and Fenwick percentages, meaning these are the teams that dominate the possession of the play at even strength. Number 1, the Carolina Hurricanes. Number 2, the Florida Panthers. Number 3, the Colorado Avalanche. Number 4, the Edmonton Oilers. 5, Kings. 6, VGK. And 7, the Capitals. 8 were the Devils. 9 were the Winnipeg Jets. Well, we know some of those teams have already been eliminated. But if you just look at this postseason, through the games that have been played, the number 1 Corsi percentage team that dominated the majority of the possession in all of their games in the playoffs is the eliminated Colorado Avalanche. And if you look at Fenwick as well, they are the number 1 possession team through their first games here in the playoffs, the eliminated Colorado Avalanche. Your number 2 Corsi percentage team here in the playoffs has been the Edmonton Oilers. Yeah, the Oilers, who were down 2-0 to the LA Kings, won 4 straight games and actually dominated the majority of the percentage. 56.31, their Corsi percentage, and their Fenwick was 56.48. Those are good numbers. And so you look at the shot attempts, 5 versus 5, the amount of time that they had the puck, what they did in the offensive zone. They were one of the teams, so far, the second best team in this entire playoffs, the best team remaining in these playoffs in terms of the Corsi Fenwick percentage. Up next in Corsi, it's the Carolina Hurricanes. Up next in Fenwick is the Vegas Golden Knights. And then it's the same thing flipped. So Vegas and Carolina right there with each other. So it's interesting taking out Carolina in this equation, because Carolina doesn't play in this series, but the Oilers against the Knights is a matchup of, through 6 games for the Oilers and 6 games for the Knights in their respective series, 2 of the top 4 teams in this entire postseason that have dominated the possession in their games. So you can say, who's been playing the best? And that measure, at least that stat shows me that both these teams are amongst the 2 teams that are playing the best in the playoffs right now. Now let's look at expected goals. So the team that scored the most goals in the playoffs is the team that is actually eliminated in the St. Louis Blues. The team that scored the second most goals, Toronto. Edmonton has scored the next at 15. Colorado, who's eliminated, scored 14. The Panthers have scored 14, so have the Wild and the Kings, who are eliminated. The Knights have only scored 10 goals in this playoffs so far. But let's look at the expected numbers. And once again, the eliminated Colorado Avalanche, the number one team in expected goals for. My goodness. I mean, what an insane comeback from Dallas to score those goals and win the game. First time in Stanley Cup playoff history that a team was trailing in the third period by multiple goals and went on to win that game in regulation. In a Game 7, I'm sorry. Have to specify that. First time in a Game 7 history that a team was trailing by multiple goals in the third period and came back and won that game in regulation. And by doing that, the Stars eliminated probably the team that was going to win the Stanley Cup in the Colorado Avalanche. But expected goals, number 2 on the list, the Edmonton Oilers. The Oilers scored 15 goals in this postseason, and their expected goal number is closer to 18. They should have scored 3 more goals. Vegas, who scored 10 goals in this playoffs, they were expected to score 14. So they should have had 4 more goals than they've scored. Dallas scored 12 goals. They were expected to score 14. But again, a matchup of 2 of the top teams here in Vegas and in Edmonton. So you look at these numbers, these teams are playing really good hockey right now. 2 of the best teams in the playoffs. The one edge that I have to give to Vegas in this series is their goaltending. I don't trust Stuart Skinner or Calvin Pickard in net for the Oilers. I trust Adin Hill, who's been there and done that before. And also, what you have to trust is that the Golden Knights were amongst the best home teams in hockey. 29 wins at home this year. Now, 9 regulation losses, it's meh. But 29, 9-3 on home ice this year. Those are great home numbers. The only teams that won more games at home this year in the Western Conference, it was the Kings, the best home team in hockey, and the Winnipeg Jets, who won 30 games. And in the East, it was Carolina, who won 31 games. At 29 games, 3rd most home wins in hockey for the Vegas Golden Knights. That's why I give them the edge in this series. That's why it doesn't make sense to me that they are a slight underdog in this series, because 4 of the 7 games in this series are going to be here in Vegas. They have the better goaltending, and they are dominant on home ice. I know the Oilers are good. Trust me. They are great. But goaltending is a massive issue when it comes to the postseason. And I have not seen it so far from the Oilers. They won their games against the Kings by outscoring the Kings. Yeah, they've done a great job of scoring goals this year, this postseason. They've scored 15. They've allowed 14. I got Vegas winning this series, and it starts with Vegas winning Game 1 tomorrow. I'm willing to lay the juice, but more so, I'm going to go ahead on the plus money price. I'm going to take a little shot at that. Plus 185 on VGK minus a 1.5. Because, yeah, I think we get an empty netter. Smarter bets start here and last all year long with VSiN Pro. For a limited time, we're slashing the price of our annual subscription. Normally $240, now just $1.99. And when you sign up today, we're going to throw in 2 extra months for free. That's right, 14 months of VSiN Pro access for less than 50 cents a day. When you use promo code PRO, get 14 months of access to our daily best bets from the hosts and guests, exclusive betting splits from DraftKings and Circa, plus 24/7 live video access on the VSiN Watch app. Head to vsin.com/subscribe now. Use promo code PRO. Lock in your 14 months of VSiN Pro.
Welcome back to Cashing Out here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Scott Seidenberg back here with you. It's Cashing Out here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. I just want to recap the bet that I gave out last segment on the Vegas Golden Knights. I love them to win the series. That is my best bet of the series that start tomorrow is the Vegas Golden Knights to win this series at -105 against the Edmonton Oilers. And for this game one in particular, I'm going to lay the -1.5 on the puck line and chase after that plus 185 price, because I do believe that Vegas can score multiple goals on the weak goaltending of Edmonton and find themselves in a situation where we could get the empty net or it could just be a multi-goal win in regulation. So give me the plus 185 on VGK -1.5, but more so, the bigger best bet is going to be on Vegas to win that series. Best bets are brought to you by GBank. You get the GBank Visa signature card today. Most credit cards treat sportsbook and gaming transactions as cash advances. That's even when you put your own money on the card. GBank treats gaming transactions as purchases, so you're saving up to 3 to 5% on cash advance fees on gaming transactions right there. Also, with GBank, you're earning 1% cashback rewards on all eligible sportsbook and gaming transactions and 2% cashback rewards on all eligible purchases. Apply now at vsin.com/gbank. That's vsin.com/gbank. NBA playoffs here on Monday night. We saw some history. The Knicks came from 20 points down to defeat the Celtics. And as Evan Abrams from the Action Network pointed out on Twitter, that's the biggest game one comeback since 2016. And if you go back to 2012, teams that go up by 20 points or more in game one of a playoff series were 99-1 straight up. Make that 99-2 now, as the Knicks stole game one as a 9-point dog against the Celtics. And the Nuggets steal game one as a 10.5 to 11-point dog against the Thunder. First time two dogs of 9 or more won in the same day in the last 25 years here in the NBA playoffs. It's historic stuff that we saw here on Monday night. And I looked this up. If you look in the NBA playoffs, going back to 2002, if you lose a game as a 9-point favorite or higher, and then your next game, you are a 9-point favorite or higher, well, those teams bounce back to go 15-0 straight up and 11-4 against the spread. So you lose a game like the Cavaliers lost to the Pacers, like the Celtics lost to the Knicks, like the Thunder lost to the Nuggets. When you lose a game as 9-point favorites or greater in the NBA playoffs, and you are once again listed as a 9-point favorite or greater, like the Cavs, 9-point favorites over the Pacers, like the Celtics, 9.5-point favorites over the Knicks, like the Thunder, 11-point favorites over the Nuggets, you are 15-0 straight up, 11-4 against the spread. I got to be honest. I mean, I love all three of these teams. If I had to pick one dog that I think could pull an upset, I mean, maybe it's the Pacers. If there's no Darius Garland once again, if Evan Mobley is hindered by an injury at all, the Cavs might be banged up enough to not win this game against the Pacers. Indy's been feisty. But I do like the Cavs. I like the Cavs to win. And then on Wednesday, I like the Celtics and the Thunder to win. And I like them to win big. The Celtics missed 45 three-pointers. And look, it's a shock because of the big number of misses, but they're a live by the 3, die by the 3 team. That's who they are. And so when that happens, when you shoot more 3-pointers than anybody, sometimes you're not going to make them. And the Celtics missed a historic number of them here in Game 1 against the Knicks. And that's why the Knicks were able to come from 20 points down to beat the Celtics in overtime. Just think about that. If just 1 or 2 of those 45 misses were makes, completely different game. Celtics win. But instead, they are down. They are down 1-0. In fact, look at the series prices of all these teams that are down 1-0, and there is no belief in these dogs to win these series. Celtics trail the Knicks 1-0. They are minus 310 to win the series. Thunder trail the Nuggets 1-0. They are minus 300 to win the series. Cavs trail the Pacers 1-0. They are minus 210 to win the series. And here's the prices if you think that those teams are going to win the next 4 straight games. Plus 200 on the Knicks Celtics under 5.5 games. Plus 180 on the Thunder Nuggets under 5.5 games. Plus 200 on the Cavs Pacers under 5.5 games. Some people are saying that would be a gentleman's sweep. That's not the definition of a gentleman's sweep. The proper definition of a gentleman's sweep, and shout out to our guy Aaron Moore, is when a team wins the first 3 games of the series as the home favorite. So they win the first 2 games at the home, then they win game 3 on the road. The gentleman's sweep is when they, quote unquote, allow the home team to win game 4, and then they go back home in game 5 and win the series 4-1. That is the true definition of the gentleman's sweep, because you're being gentlemanly. You're letting them get a game in front of their home fans. It's the last time they're ever going to see them play at home. And so you let them get that game. And then you wrap things up on your home floor. Makes sense. So no gentleman's sweeps here. But you can still have these series ending in 5 if these favorites go on to win the next 4 games. And all these teams will be favored in every game for the remainder of the series. As far as those numbers tell me, with those 9-point favorites that go on to win every single time, they dominate the first halves. And that's something that the zigzag has become very profitable over the years, but it has been taxed. Like, if you look at these games right now, the Cavs are 9-point favorites for the game, 6-point favorites for the first half. I still would lay it, even though I know it's a bad number. I think the Cavs come out strong. I think the Cavs are going to win this game. I think the Cavs are going to pull away. Now, as far as, the other games are concerned, I took the points with the Knicks in game 1. I didn't think they were going to win outright. I just thought 9 was a little bit disrespectful on the spread. But I think the Celtics could easily blow them out in game number 2. And the Thunder Nuggets, that was... The Thunder were up 13 points with 6 minutes left in the game. And they lose. I mean, that's just embarrassing. I got to believe the Thunder come out with a better effort in game number 2. But maybe, like the criticism that we had on them, last year or so, maybe they're just not ready for the playoff moment. Meanwhile, a championship pedigree team like the Denver Nuggets was able to rally from down big and not lose their composure late in the game. And Nikola Jokic goes on to have a historic night with the 18 points in the fourth quarter, 42 points and 22 rebounds for the game. Big-time performances from the clutch player of the year in Jalen Brunson for the Knicks, who had, 20, they erased a 20-point deficit with Brunson leading the charge, and with Jokic, best player in the world, leading the comeback efforts there. As for the game between the Warriors and the Timberwolves tomorrow, I'm very curious to see if money comes in on the Warriors and this spread shortens up a bit. Because the road team in all of these series so far has won game 1. Pacers, Knicks, and Nuggets. Does money come in on the Warriors and push this number down? Because if it does, I'm going to buy in on the Timberwolves. I think the Timberwolves' size advantage is going to be the difference in this game. And I might just look Timberwolves first half, because maybe coming off the Game 7, we saw it hurt the Nuggets early. They were down 10 points at the half. Maybe that plays itself out in the first half here for the Timberwolves before maybe we see a Warriors comeback. And plus, what did we see in the last game? Steph Curry had, 3 points in the first half before turning it on in the second half and the fourth quarter? So maybe Timberwolves first half is the way to attack this game. Don't forget, coming up tomorrow, VSiN by the books with Jensen Lewis and Grace Remington at 7 a.m. Eastern time. Then it's a numbers game with Gil Alexander at 10 a.m. Eastern, followed by Money Moves with Stormy Buonantony and Jonathan Von Tobel at noon Eastern time. It's all coming up for your Tuesday here on VSiN. I'm Scott Seidenberg. This is Cashing Out here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
This is your before and after story, where your first steps towards a new life-changing career begin. Southeastern College can take you there. We offer in-demand hybrid and online programs with hands-on training, led by in-field career professionals, and career services to put you on the path to a rewarding and fulfilling future. This is where your transformation begins. Southeastern College, your future is bright. Visit sec.edu to get started.